Wedges are some of the most important golf clubs in your bag. Not only are they scoring clubs, getting it close to the flag, but they'll also rescue you from those poor approach shots, into bunkers, into thick rough, and even the ones that you're trying to just attack and maybe hole them. All that being said, what are my top 10 points that you should consider when buying new wedges? Let's take a look, and let's do it now. Hi everyone, James Robinson here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you consider hitting that subscribe button. Smash it if you do so, which I won't hold it against you. The channel is growing absolutely wonderfully and I want you guys to be a part of it at home. As always, I want you to comment below. In this video, I want you to comment how many wedges do you have in your bag and what kind of wedges are they? Now let's get back to my top 10 points that you should consider when buying new wedges. Point number 1, how many wedges should you buy? And how many should you have in your bag? Now this is something you're going to have to work out not only in the wedge department of the bag, but in other departments as well. How many woods do you have? How many irons do you have? Are you a hybrid kind of person? If you are, you're not going to have room in the bag for many wedges. Do you want 2 wedges? Do you want 3 wedges? Do you want a pitching wedge in the set? What about a gap wedge? Is short game your strength? Think about that one for a second. For me, short game is my strength. I chip well, I generally pitch well, and I'm kinda awesome out of bunkers, if I do say so myself. So I have a lot of wedges. I have a pitching wedge, a 50 degree, a 55 degree, and also a 60 degree. That's 4 wedges. That is a lot of attacking clubs. It doesn't leave me with much room, top end of the bag, for many hybrids, woods, drivers, driving irons, and all the rest. But that's personal preference. And that is point number 1. Point number 2, what grinds do you want? What bounce do you need? If you buy a 60 degree wedge, do you want one that's nice and rounded off so you can open the face up and play the club under the ball and get it airborne? Or would you rather have something with a sharp leading edge so you don't open the face up, you use the loft as it should be, keep that leading edge square and attack down on the ball? What kind of golf course do you play? Usually when considering bounce options, you'll take into account the golf course you play. Is it links? Is it parkland? Is it dry? Is it wet? Yes, I know these factors can change, but also what kind of shots do you like to play? Do you like to play primarily high shots? Do you like to play low shots? Keep it to the ground and play percentages? None of these things are positives and none of them are negatives. It's just how do you like to play and how do you feel like your short game benefits you the most? It's really important and probably one of the biggest points in this video. If you're going to go and buy new wedges, make sure you try different grinds, make sure you're trying different bouncers and see which one suits you the most. That's tip number 2. Point number 3, what colour do you want? Now, colour with wedges may seem like a little bit of a vain thing. How does it look in the bag? Does it look cool? Does it not look cool? Can a wedge not look cool? I don't know. But actually there's more to it than that. There's more to it than a wedge just looking sexy, which, let's be fair, the black ones do. What about glare from the sun? Does it annoy you when you have a chrome wedge and the sun beats down on the face? The glare from that hits you in the face, it can put you off, it can really frustrate you. That is the last thing you need when you've got a real pressure situation chip shot or bunker shot or even a pitch shot from 80-90 yards. Colour is a big thing. You need to not only look at them and see which one you like the look of more, which one fills you with more confidence, but which one works better for you as well. That's tip number 3. Which colour wedge should you go for? Tip number 4, what gaps should you have with your wedges? For me, like I said earlier, I have 50, 55, well, 54 set at 55, 60. I find that gives me plenty of options around the greens for chipping, different trajectories, different lies, but also different distances. This is another point that we're going to touch on, but definitely you need to think about what gaps you have in your wedges. Can you afford to only have 1 or 2 wedges, like we said in point 1, or do you need more? Play to the strengths and weaknesses of your game, just like we mentioned in point number 1. That's point number 4. What gaps are you going to have in your wedges? Point number 5. Which brand do you go for? Do you go Mizuno? But Vokey wedges have always been great, right? What about Ping wedges? And Taylormade have released some absolute beauties over the last few years. Obviously, there are other brands as well. There's Cleveland, for example, there's Callaway wedges. There's loads of fantastic wedges out there. Why would you pick the brand you go for? Do you want to match it with your iron set? Or does brand really not matter that much to you? Would you rather just go for a shape that suits you or a colour that suits you? Is that more important to you than what's written on the back of the club? Some people, this is a really important factor. I know people who will only play with Titleist wedges or will only play with Callaway wedges. I suppose it's similar to the ball. Do you feel like you have a loyalty to a certain brand? Because you really shouldn't. And this actually brings me swiftly on to point number 6. Do all the wedge brands need to be the same? If you have a 60, a 56, a 52, do they all have to be Vokeys? Do they all have to be Callaway? Do they all have to be Cleveland? Or would you feel comfortable getting a Vokey, a Mizuno and a Callaway wedge all in different lofts? Would that freak you out a little bit? Do they all have to look the same, looking down at the ball? Is that a big confidence thing? You'll notice that I'm asking you a lot of questions in this video. Questions you should maybe be asking yourself when you're going to buy new wedges. They're points number 5 and 6. Point number 7, and this can be a real important one that people just completely disregard. What lie angle does it need to be? Now this is something that Ping do exceptionally well when you get fitted for their wedges with the colour dot scheme or system or whatever you want to call it. But other wedges, people generally just buy off the rack. They don't go to get the shaft fitted, they don't go to get the lie angle fitted, they don't go to get the length fitted. You do it with your irons, hopefully, so why aren't you doing it with your wedges? These are the scoring clubs. If your lie angle is a couple of degrees out, even less, it's going to play a massive role where the loft is pointing at impact. If you think the club face is pointing at the flag, but actually the loft's facing left of the flag, where do we think the ball's going to go? It ain't going to go towards the flag. That's point number 7, and it is a real important one. Point number 8, we're flying through these now, guys, stay with me. When you buy a set of irons and you get a sand wedge, do you go sand wedge in the irons, or do you go a proper sand wedge? To me, this is a sand wedge. This is an iron, not a sand wedge. What you've got to think is, how much playability do I have with the iron set sand wedge as opposed to the wedge. Anyway, you catch my drift. Yes, it might be more forgiving on full shots. You might get that 80, 100-yard shot a little bit more forgiving, but can you use it out the bunker? Can you use it out the rough? Can you attack the flag with it from close range? That's what these clubs are all about. A lot of that will depend on your ability level. A lot of it will depend on how much effort you put into researching what wedges you should have. That's tip number 8. Point number 9, and this can tie into point number 4. What about the distance gapping? So we spoke about loft gapping, we've spoke about the gapping that you will have in your chip shots and your pitch shots. What about full shot gapping? If you get on a launch monitor, see how far your 9-iron goes, see how far your pitching wedge goes. Then you need to see how far the sand wedge goes, the gap wedge, the lob wedge. Make sure you can score with these clubs. Make sure if you bomb a drive down the middle of the fairway, you can use this club, you know how far it's going to go, you can attack the flag with it, you can make your birdie, and you can move on. That's tip number 9. Tip number 10, last but not least. And I think we've timed this just right because those clouds are coming over here imminently. What do you think tip number 10 is? Come on, we've all seen my top 10 tips for buying golf balls. We've all seen the top 10 tips for buying irons. Hopefully we've all seen the top 10 tips for buying drivers. Which point have we not hit so far? You guessed it. Go get fitted. If you're going to spend a lot of money on wedges, which, let's get things right, you probably are going to be doing, wedges aren't cheap anymore. I remember when wedges were like kind of 60, 70 pounds. Now you're looking at upwards of 140, 150 pounds for some wedges. That's expensive. Make sure they work, make sure they're right for you, make sure the lie angle's right, make sure the shaft is right. Do you get the shaft that's in your irons, or do you go for the standard wedge shaft? I've never personally understood that. And what about the grip thickness? What about tweaking the lie angle? What about tweaking the loft? These are important clubs. These clubs can save your round, they can improve your golf, and they can lower that handicap, as well as making you enjoy it more. I couldn't think of anything I would enjoy more than a full day on a really good chipping green with a couple of brand new wedges, some decent practice balls, and maybe a bit of music in my ears. Job done. That is how you improve your golf. they're my top 10 tips for buying wedges. Guys, I'm James Robinson, I'm here at Huddersfield Golf Club. If you haven't already, just smash that subscribe button for me. It's this circular thing here, I put it at the end of every video now. And if you haven't seen much of my content before, here's a link to one of my other videos. Guys, see you soon.